Well, things do start to make a little bit more sense. Gambit do pick up Inferno in absolute style, demolishing their opponent of Enterprise. And I will say one thing when it comes to all of this, that maybe Gambit are just giving everyone a lifeline. They really are just practicing this Dust 2. They seem to have forgotten how to play. And the plan is like, we'll pick it, we'll lose it, then we'll win the next 2 maps. Does that logic work for you, Kassad?
I don't know what's the logic here, because like what they did was completely understandable for me. I can't really comprehend the whole Dust 2 thing, but Inferno was much different, right? Even though like the score is not really painting the full picture, like there's some close rounds, in the beginning, like back and forth. But overall, we said like we said in the beginning before Inferno, it's a more team-based map, right? And like it's a lot of narrow things, and in T default, it's like all 5 players are engaged at the beginning. It's not like Dust 2 where you have upper B guy and in front of long guy not doing pretty much anything, right?
Yeah.
We have the host guy, Boiler, coordinating with the banana guys, seeing like that was the best moment to like take top middle, and it's a whole different thing. And then the mid round calls from the IGL. It's a much more team-based map than the others, right? And this is where we see the Enterprise guys kind of fall off a little bit. Obviously, Shiro had a great game, right? And
ridiculous.
They were like popping off from all sides, and Exile as well, holding holes. It's overall a dominance from Gambit, and I'm not really surprised,
Yeah, you saw some like individuals shining through, I guess, on Enterprise. That Mattis 4K, which ultimately resulted in him forgetting to plan the bomb.
I can't believe that as well. Poor guy.
He's so angry at himself.
Yeah. Disappointment.
But yeah, not much else to write home about there.
The thing is that they got but some opening kills, right? He just didn't know how to convert it in the round, because Gambit is so experienced on this map, and they know how to position themselves. You see a Fanny retaking banana, one round.
Yes.
They lost it in the end, but those moves like that, kind of understanding when you need to retake some space to actually gain control, even though you're a man down, that's kind of the deciding factor in some of the key rounds on the map. And
just to add on that, Gambit have one of the highest 4v5 conversion rates in this.
They just know how to play it. That's experience throughout a year now, and then they just know how to play, especially against the teams that are really not on the high level of this team-based Counter-Strike yet.
Now, one thing, right, it was unacceptable the way they're losing Dust 2. They come back into this look really good, but it did feel to me with Enterprise that like they many times were just doing stuff that didn't make any sense. Like they would almost flustered themselves a few rounds in.
They were just not sure what they need to do in some situations.
Yeah.
They got banana quite a few times. They got the openings quite a few times. Not so much in top middle, but when it came to like finishing the rounds, that's where they crumbled. Even when they decided where they want to go, the spacing was completely off. The flashes are not really used properly. We saw Shiro 4K in that round. He has no business getting maybe the first and the second, but third and the fourth should be a trade.
We should look at that round as well, right? Because it was just something beautiful to see in terms of Counter-Strike style.
Basically just a Shiro round right there.
You see, this is one of those openings. They got the banana pick, right? And then they just back off. And Nafani pulls out a flash, I think, here. For some reason, I don't know why though. He's gonna pull out a flash, and he dies. Okay, 5v3. Then we have Shiro repositioning smartly here. He's gonna play the retake at the beginning. He gets a smoke. He's gonna go to the right in the stairs, so-called like fallen line back in the days, right? And then he's just gonna play it, how he should be playing it. Flash is gonna come, he's gonna pop the first. He wasn't really blind. The second guy was a sick kill.
Nice.
And after this, he should be traded, Then you see the undecisiveness in the going in from the Enterprise side, and then after that it was just a slaughter, right? In those situations, that's the unexperience for these guys, right? This is for something they need to learn coming into the next games or the next events or whatever, right? Looking into these games. So one of the basic mistakes from them.
Now next we go on to Mirage as the decider. I'm guessing we pretty much expect maybe more of a fight for Enterprise for sure, but it's going to be a kind of similar scoreline, some similar dominance from Gambit, surely.
Yeah, look, coming into this Enterprise, they beat Budapest 5 on Mirage, and then, the Hungarian team, excuse me, and then obviously humbled a bit by Entropic in the opening game, but on the Gambit side, this was the map where they had that really close game against East Suba. It was the CT side, which they had a bit of struggle. And then, of course, the comeback on the T side, going into overtime, and then closing it out. So, as you said, probably a bit of a closer affair, but Gambit should be the one taking it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if they start the CT side, Gambit. So, the thing is, like what we saw yesterday from Enterprise was not much, right? We saw Entropic pretty much dominating throughout the whole thing. Enterprise looked like they had a general idea how they need to play it, but they just ran out of fuel at that point, right? It was like 2 exhausting maps. It was Ancient plus Nuke after that, super high intense map. They go into the Mirage right there and then just lose 13 in a row, right? It looked like they had no fuel in the tank, which is understandable for a young team like that. And now they're coming into the similar situation. They just got punished on Inferno, coming off like from a victory on Dust 2, right? It's a little bit of a roller coaster for them. I don't know how emotionally they're gonna go into the game. You know, obviously they can aim. That's, I mean, obvious. But emotionally coming into the third map on the elimination game against Gambit, I'm not really sure how they're gonna go into it.
Well, let's find out how they do get into it. Mirage is the decider. We didn't expect to be here, but Enterprise, they have one final shot trying to make it work. Otherwise, they're gonna be eliminated. Let's get back with Jay and Dwayne.
Thanks, gentlemen. Yes, Gambit taking us to our third map in an unexpected fashion. We hoped that maybe Inferno would be a little bit closer than it really was. And I guess the question now is, Dwayne, do we believe that Mirage will be any closer than that? Do we think it could go down the route of a Dust 2?
I think it comes down to Enterprise, right? How much they really going to try and be able to put Gambit on the back foot? Are they going to be able to lead by example? They can't put themselves in a position where they get their first round 8 rounds in. They need to be able to strike earlier.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the reason why they were able to have so much success on Dust 2 is the confidence that they had. Kassad was mentioning that one round with Shiro's 4K, how they didn't peak with confidence, they didn't fight with confidence. I feel like that looking for that confidence is going to be the big thing for Enterprise in this matchup. And with Mirage being such a great map as well for both teams, like it really is a kind of map that could go down to just really come down to the performances itself.
Yeah, you have a look at Forzy, 1.33 rating on average when it comes to Mirage. We typically look at guys like Shiro and Axile to put on some good performances over from the Gambit side. 11 maps played here for the Enterprise and 9 for Gambit when it does come to Mirage. Going into the last map of the series, you've got to expect for yourself that Gambit are going to be really hyped off of that last one and looking to bounce back quickly.
100%. And with this map being their most played map in the pool, you know that they're going to be well drilled and well rehearsed. So there's going to be some curveballs being thrown out here by the Enterprise boys. Knife round to the side, the choice of side itself, Dwayne. Do you think that CT is going to be a majorly important issue for these two teams?
It could be. For Enterprise, they were doing okay on T side. We saw the way that Matties and really Mangus, those two guys, were finding a lot of entry kills. I have a look at Mirage, and I think to myself again, knife round not going to make the biggest amount of differences at all. Mangus just trying to see if he can get it forward. Doesn't quite happen. Gambit win the knife round. They've got the choice of side. You'd expect for them to go CT.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's no real reason to go pick into the T side unless you're 100% confident with that. T sides can make the difference, but to get started on CT is a bit more of a comfort pick. Something that goes back to that very old days of CS where every map was CT sided.
Yeah, some teams like T side. I know that Fiend from time to time actually pick T side of Nuke. Oh, T side of Mirage, I should say. It comes down to
a team picking T side of Nuke.
If you
masochism,
imagine that, right? It comes down to your play style. Are you super aggro? Do you want to put a lot of pressure on? Do you want to see if you can lead and get as much going? But yeah, I really think coming here into map 3 for Enterprise, we know that they're a decent Mirage team. We saw it in the map 3 decider when it came down against Team Hungary. They had a 16-10 result there. Against Entropic, even though the rounds were very close, they only managed 4 rounds. That was the game we saw yesterday.
Here we go. Gambit will be on the CT start. Enterprise with one final map to try and eliminate our tournament favorites. And if they can do that, they would take some serious heads going into the semi-finals. It's pistol round to get started with nade stacks in towards CT on the A face. Adiz will get that opening kill on Shiro as Matty's axe out towards the B side. 2 players playing passive and Nafani will engage. Inters will find the kills. Nafani ends up dropping. He's that headshot on the second player. Axel will support and Inters will double up indeed. Drop that bomb to a 3v2.
Well, that's a couple of pistol setups we've seen before in this event where they just try and see if they can nade stack out towards that CT area, pull those rotations, and for the Gambit players, they're just not leaving B.
Eli dropping, all left to Adiz. Just faced in by Inters. Perfect triple for him, a pistol gain by Gambit, and that's the start we wanted to see. You mentioned how Enterprise have needed a strong start, needed a strong early start of the game. Not what we're going to see here for the pistol at the very least. Do they force buy into the second round? I mean, I know that you haven't really opted to be too confident in that.
But just look at the numbers, mate. 0 for 12. There's nothing about confidence. You just look at the data.
Well, they haven't got a bomb plant, so it's much easier to save in this one. I think that might be the justifiable call here for the boys. Yeah, just upgrade pistols on a couple players.
It just sucks that Enterprise are 0 for 5 in pistol rounds. Like, whether we talk about the second or not, they've just never got off to good starts in any maps in this best of 3 series. And it starts making you wonder how much Gambit can actually turn this forward front into something more like they did on that last map of Inferno.
Run boost over to the mid control past the stack. Got Mangus sit behind it, and he's had some relatively impactful sort of rounds over the course of Inferno, especially over on Dust 2. This one, it won't be too impactful for his own part. He's got the Deagle in his hand. I have to pass that off to a teammate. He's now down to 8 points of health. But he's one of those players that you want to watch out for in terms of when he's in the pressure scenarios and how he can fight his way out of that. Eli caught next by Shiro in a 5 versus 3, but for this round, seemed like it should be easy enough for Gambit.
He's found a lot of impact on T sides over the course of this event. A player that came over from the Dark Tigers earlier into the year. Him and Forzy and Mangus too. Not really finding much on that eco. Expected though, there was very light upgrades. Again, Forzy joined this team mid-2020. We had a look at the Eli and Mangus both being signed in the 2nd of January this year. And then Adij and Matties being signed on the 3rd of August, which isn't really that long ago. Just over 3 months, roughly.
I mentioned that stat, about 35 maps played?
Matches, I think, yeah.
35 maps or matches?
I'm pretty sure it was matches.
Okay. Either way, and not as many as Gambit have with this 5-man unit, together for almost, actually over a year.
Yeah, a while.
Yeah.
I mean, even when they were back as Gambit youngsters, I think they came through in April of 2019.
I'm thinking about that Hobbit chain. Come back to that in a second. Spray through, and speaking of the man himself, 2 frags lined up out of the Palace position at ease, and Matty's falling down the wall banks. Eli can get Axile at least out towards shore, but that bomb has been dropped, and I believe it might be CT control. Hobbit's even on for the triple. Forsey walking out, not expecting him to be so close. Mangus and Eli, the last couple of players remaining, will try work their way back into the site. They're covered off on all bases here.
Yeah, it seemed like you summoned a Hobbit right there, Jay. Just came alive as soon as we mentioned his name, even for Shiro. Walking out from this underpass position. Inter's got the backstab. Mangus 1v3. Bob got to get back out from under dark. Shiro is going to fall, so at least he isolates the one jewel.
All-important frag. Hobbit and Inter's making their way in as the AK leans up, catches the quick transfer, and Hobbit will eventually find his triple. It's a bit of a fake triple from him earlier in that engagement on the Palace position. Still very good defensive from him and locked out those 2 individuals. We can watch that sequence again. Perfect lineups.
Oh.
Again, the adjustments to the transfers. Yeah. Barely even saw him as well.
I definitely didn't see him. I don't even barely saw him. He was behind the smoke, so definitely didn't see him at all. Bit lucky. You can see even when he's on top of the ladder, he's spraying away with Shiro. You're never really going to get that kill because the inaccuracy when on ladders is just awful. It does have that teammate support, and Gambit have not let Enterprise get a bomb plant just yet.
No, economical deficit. Down to the Deagles and the Tech 9s once again. Upgrade pistols without Kevlar or utility. First kill found by Shiro. 1 flash available for Eli. Might allow some peeks in, and he'll try and get towards mid. That still catches Shiro blinded. He almost lands his shot back. And finally there for the trains. Makes it a double. Falls. He turns his Deagle into a pick. Now Mangus to strike back from underpass. Leans in. Nade evaded. Takes very little damage for it.
Keep looking for more info out from this mid position. Axile playing with some confidence. Got to be careful if he overextends too far. Deals with Mangus. And now that Deagle's the last one left. Hobbit going to be able to finish him off as well. Enter Plant. 0-4 down.
Yeah, I haven't seen many plants.
I haven't even got close to bomb sites really just
probably,
yet.
Yeah, probably closer to call them lack of plants.
Yeah, but it's not quite the same. Enter Plants works better.
Well, when they get a bomb plant, I'll give you that. But for now, they do need to step it up. Because unlike that last map where we saw in the early games, Gambit were getting all the good rounds. The rounds themselves are still close. That's not happened here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Gambit have been really locked on. They're keeping these T-side weapons forward. Shiro with the AWP is finding some consistency. Even some of the nades up to top mid are already doing some chip damage down to the Eli and Matties. Slightly quicker, trying to see if they get some top con control.
Smokes up to top con. Shiro's going to blind fire ahead of it. Try back away. Eli with his AK. Starts pressing in and looks towards that short position. He's waiting for someone to extend or for his teammates to get it. Matty's and Eli not required. Incendiary is held back and Shiro falls away.
And Anthony starting to push forward out from Palace. Could have a good wrap. Matty's going to get spotted out to that ladder position by the AWP, or at least expecting a shoulder bait or some sort of face out. This jewel out from Palace could be everything. Addy's just getting wrapped in. Oh, he's making so much noise.
The fighting now knows. Might not be aware of his rotation, though. He's actually going to fall back through Palace.
They're stacking up B because of it. He's hearing that they've rotated away out from that ramp position. They're playing 3 on B. This is such a sick read.
The 4th man will look towards Murder Hole in case there's a rotate inbound, but Connector's going to be completely cleared up. It'll all rest on the Farney if they go for a hard stack back in from underpass. With 40 seconds, they're lining up utility. It looks to be the B set piece.
Oh, this is just going to go so wrong. Inter's just going to be the bait. The 2 players on the side could just pull the attention away.
Exile backed up. Here come the smokes. Counter smokes at the ready. Eli starting to lean into connector, and Nafani just going to wait for him. Keep his eyes peeked in. Looks towards Matthew, looks towards the murder hole. Eli can take a quick swing and a hit, and that's the 4v4 with the A site opened up.
Jeez, what a mid-round call that was from Enterprise, and they're trying to see if they can force Inters out. Mangus on the lurk, can't find anything. Rotation's still coming in.
The bomb plant will be secured open on the short position. Falls, comes up with your picture, trades back Eli. 2 versus 2. They've still got Inters rotating up the position, going to try find his way out towards the connector control. Have to make noise if he wants to be quick about this. You can still see how Shearer's playing around the murder hole position, the AWP in hand. Adiz to get up his angle. Perfect shot straight to the back. And now it's Forzy's AWP to go just as ham as he just did. 1 on 2. Bomb in the open. Out towards ramp. CT's going to start taking face. He looks up. Sees nothing. Shiro. And then the cross and ready for the lockdown. 3 kills to his name. Refused to be locked out of this one. Close round from Enterprise for the first time. It's still a 5th round on the board for Gambit.
Oh, what a triple to come out from Shiro. A great adjustment for that lurker that gets out to the window room area. I'll give a lot of praise to Enterprise for that mid-round call, because they were running into such a heavy B stack. I don't know what the tell was, or there was a slight gimmick in that play. They go back in from underpass, get top con. They're able to 1-for-1 trade to Nafani that's playing down there on the A side. The issue is really dealing with Shiro. He's out there towards CT Sport, he's finding impact, he's going back out towards a murder hole, and he even realizes bomb plan is open for ramp. I'm going to stay here posted on stairs. I'll get my teammate just to stick the bomb. I've got the angle held. Simple round.
Attack pause called by Gambit in this round. I guess they weren't too happy with having 2 players alive at the end of that. Hell of an adjustment to try and deal with the rotations that Enterprise have called up. It still was a round itself to the favor of that CT side. Shiro's looking on point, by the way. His AWP has found 8 kills thus far in this matchup, and he was looking fantastic over on Inferno, but this is like a whole other level.
Well, I wonder if Nafani thinks that he double bluffed himself with that call, and that there were actually just a lot of players outside of ramp that he didn't know about. Into mid, we're seeing the aggression start coming through again. Enterprise just yet to get around up on T side.
Sprang forward, Axile peeks in ahead of the smoke into the Molotov. Knows that he can't continue peeking himself, unless he'll go down pretty effectively. We'll boost up Shiro instead. Seeing nothing ahead of that smoke, though. He's covered off against the T-side line. That one player in the cubby corner, though, as soon as he peeks out, Shiro's going to have eyes.
Matty's can't afford to peek from this chair position without a molly or a smoke going down to that short angle. They do give up on the boost for the moment, and they want to try and flash over.
Flashes do come in for the T-side. Smokes come back for the CT forces, though. And one towards bottom con. Well placed there by Axile. Rotate back. Shiro repositioned to the back of the site and everything. 3 players are over here. The T's are looking into the A site. They're yet to find a pick.
It's very passive from the T side. Not a lot of map control has been gained outside of mid. You've got that single lurk of Addy just waiting for an aggressive duel to come out from that ramp position. Another smoke down to the top of connector. The bomb looking to go back in from T spawn, so it does seem as if it will be a late A split.
40 seconds. Bomb will make its way in. Gonna rejoin Adiz.
Just no util. All they've got is a molly and a flash.
Farney and Hobbit gonna see very little resistance, and the blindness will only happen on that first pop. See what Adiz does to set it in. 25 seconds as well. Shiro ready for the rotations in the sniper's nest. He might not get given it, though. Depends on how Mangus wants to play this out. Play himself in towards underpass. 15 seconds. They're running hell out of time. Nafani in at dark. Got to get hard checked as Hobbit watches. Molotovs do towards Gojo coming in towards CT. He draws attention. Actually, Nafani ends up dropping. Matty's extremely low. They go for blind fire against him. He'll get the bomb down. No, just about. No, Hobbit gets the wall bang. That's enough. And they just hold it together. What a hold from Gambit, but it was mostly down to Enterprise's passiveness. Too little time on the clock.
Awful round there for Enterprise. It's just, they're getting in their own heads, Jay. They just slow that round so slowly, and nothing gets presented by that default. They haven't got a player into window. They haven't got a player into ladder. They haven't been able to bait an aggressive duel. They haven't been able to manage a pick. You're going into an A site, 15 seconds left on the clock with a molly that goes down to City Sport and a flash. All it's going to take is that bomb to get denied because there's so much space open. Hobbit from CT just knows, spam that box. All it's going to take is a couple of bullets. That bomb gets denied and that round gets over.
Yeah, if Matty's was not the planter, it was someone else on high HP, that probably wouldn't have been denied there. It probably would have gone down. I mean, but at least they would have had the bomb down.
What were they even going to do in the post plant there? They've got no map control. They don't have CT. They don't have jungle. What are you going to do? Okay, let's just say hypothetically they get the bomb down. You've got no util, no spacing. They would have just gotten retaked. So even in that round, they don't set themselves up properly.
A lot of work for Enterprise to do. In for Forza, even missing that shot. Now even the basics aren't even going well for them.
Oh, come on, mate. That's a tough one.
Spray through from Adiz, and you get something a bit better against Hobbit. Frag found. I'm going to start in this round.
It's an opening pick, and you'll take it. Spam through that ramp smoke, goes out perfectly. They're going to have to deal with Shiro. The smoke's starting to dissipate.
Forza catches him off guard, hits that shot for certainty. Finally missing out. Axile backed up towards Connector. Looking from it to try and join his CT. Breather in, but he gets flanked in. Mangus with his kill. Axile with 2. Traded back by Forsey, leaving it all on Inters in a 1v3. And that first shot might have missed out, but that's far better on the round for Enterprise.
It just felt as if how impactful that opening man advantage was, just to be able to filter more. We see that spam that comes through from Agis. They slow it down. They've got the mid portion. They're trying to take connector control. Out from ramp, what happens? Shiro overextends. He's looking for a way back into the round. He's looking to get it back into a 4v4 position. And for Forsey, beautiful round from him. He gets a couple of kills.
Wonderfully done. They're first to the board of the Enterprise side. Gambit conceding 1 at last. 6 rounds deep before the first comes in for Enterprise, which isn't that far off what we saw in Inferno. Honestly, it was like 7 rounds. 7-1 was the first scoreline that we had there for Enterprise.
It was.
Yeah.
It was round 8, so I think it went 7-1. That was the round that made the difference, and they just lost the next one after that.
So it's a slightly better improvement for Enterprise.
Yeah.
But not by much.
Yeah, we're stretching the positives, I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely a much better round to come in from Enterprise as a whole. Forsey with the AWP, finding some good trades. Axile was a menace out in that short position, and he's definitely a player to keep an eye out for. He's always peeking through that short smoke. He's trying to make it uncomfortable. He's definitely going to be a guy that's an impact player into mid.
Double mollies in the Shiro. He's got to find a frag. No. But the smoke down instead. Doesn't quite extend all the way out towards Sniper's Nest. He trades places with the T-side player. Matisse is going to get caught as well. Lock on for Shiro.
And when you're trying to hunt down the AWP like that, you probably need a flash from a teammate. Yeah, you're trying to make that lurk in from window. They need that follow-up with the util. It can't peek dry.
And Forsey will peek dry ahead of the smoke. Expecting Hobbit to be there on the default position. M4 waits and looks up from Palace. Elive that walks out from Tetris, though. Hobbit is an unknown entity. So are the T-side players. Hobbit's alone as well. Smoke against his teammates at top. Connie still drops that bomb, and now he's got to call in a harder rotate back towards CT. Gets away with the second kill before he's traded. He's done enough.
Oh, that's pure class coming in for Hobbit. Just overextending when he absolutely needs to. Buys time for those rotations. Manga's going to hope to get the bomb down.
At once, scapping a smoke. Nafani sprays. Gets the kill with the last bullet in the magazine. Forced with the AWP. Can't hit his shot. And that's the 7th, right back for Gambit.
And we start talking about when you're the underdog team. We've mentioned it previous days that you have to snatch your opportunities. And right here for Enterprise, they looked fantastic on map 1. The first 7, 8, 9 rounds of Inferno was incredibly competitive. They could have made it so much closer and built themselves up confidently to start moving forward into that second half. It didn't happen at all. They got blown out of the water. Now we're coming into Mirage. It's 1-7 down.
Khalil's AKs, AWP back in, the M4s as standard. Gambit looking fantastic on the CT half thus far. Will it continue down this route? Enterprise want it not to do so. They want to derail this defensive side. Chira's waiting for a D's, waiting for a peek in to start things off with the CTs. Nafani's hunting for his first pick out towards the connector control. Shira's baited in contact, and Elive can shut down Nafani. Axel still on short, though. He's got himself 2 frags, trading places with Matties as well. Ahead of the smoke, he gets a triple. Axile breaks them all down. What happened there?
He's still alive, Jay. He could be on for
more.
another. Mangas could get dropped. It all just comes down to a matter of timing. Interconnector he's been seen. Oh, surely this is going to be another.
This has got to be a quadra. He looks on against the D's, gets it and all. Shiro's pinned the last into the corner. Finally, Mangas there with a trade. Axile, man alive, what a sequence. Not just the 2 kills on the stat position. The fact you got back ahead of the smoke, got the player on the player that traded places with him, and then the quadra. Like, man, Axile, dude, like, what a round.
And we've seen a few like that over the course of this series from Gambit, where you just get some of the individuals really showing up. Hobbit in that couple of previous where he's playing out from default with a couple of kills. Shiro right there in the last map of Inferno. Axile up on short, just getting a massive multi-kill. Even peeking forward, dropping that bomb. The AWP spots the next player, Mangus and Connector, and Gambit just all over Enterprise.
There's no way in, it seems. Deagle's out, fast execution inbound, smokes down the standard set piece. On CT, connected jungle stairs cross. Firing away, Hobbit's not detected up at Palace. There's 3 CTs overall here. Hobbit will strike on the first man, take him down. Look ahead at Fence, Stefani and Shiro with their picks. Stefani with a double up, and Elive 1v5.
It seems as well, Hobbit, the Kazakhstanian that comes through for the Gambit side, following the footsteps of Lucky yesterday. We saw that 16-4 result on Mirage for Entropic against Enterprise. Lucky went 27-8, had a lot of high impact. And while that's not the same figures at all for Hobbit, you can feel the impact coming on that A side. The bait and switches, the way that he's playing time, allowing rotates to come over, dealing with that eco like it's nothing.
But a bit of a common theme so far in this matchup. Players that have massive impact without massive numbers. We mentioned that obviously for Mangus over on the Enterprise side. Now Hobbit here. Frags aren't everything, especially if they're massive numbers of frags. What is everything is the scoreline, though, and Enterprise still have yet to find their second round. Gambit just rolling these boys in spite of the impact that they've had individually. As a team, Gambit are just finding everything that they need. Spread out default set in this time, scrambled for the Enterprise side. They do have Mangus pressed up aggressive in apartments, but tag to 55 has yet to find contact.
Yeah, even that molly that comes out for the T side to connector, it's towards the higher end of the bottom of con rather than on the stairs, so Shiro can just stay there posted, realize that there's no information early round out from mid, resmoke to ramp for Hobbit, gonna get into that sandwich angle.
Holds face, ready for the execute when it comes in, 4C. This is out his chance to find the player at CT. Smokes on, Shiro sees one, but takes a shot back from him. M4 of Axel leans in instead, and 4C gets away with a pick back, so 1-for-nothing trade. Almost 2-for-nothing trade, honestly. Shiro's down very low.
Now this is where at least Gambit are going to have to start gambling. Shiro's able to get a pick in towards that short player. They don't know about the numbers in apartments.
Might be low, but he's still finding picks. Mangus next up. Smokes go down. The AK Vincent needs to hold back here, but if he doesn't, Matties will take the trade, and Shiro can't afford to stick around with that Molotov to spread. 3v3, Incendiary has come back for the CTs. It does not extend towards it ease. Gets the plant in, it will be retake time.
Now Shiro's going to have to play passive, allow his teammates to move forward, make the impact themselves, and Nafani does get the 1-for-1 at least with Shiro.
3 kills to him. Still on 10 points of health, by the way. All 3 of those picks came in at 10 HP. Hobbit switching out to the M4. Baiting the AWP shot at the apartment's position. He's got to find a D's. Arches, and he swings out knowing exactly where the man is. So Shiro left to clutch this AWP to save. He's walking slowly in through underpass. He might look for an exit frag onto 4Z, but I don't think he's going to get the round itself or go for the clutch. Time's way too far ticked. Scope in. Catches one exit. Oh, missed out. Awkward timing. He might even go out with the bomb here. Just barely staying alive. 4C does, though, so that's more impact. Damage done to 4 players of Enterprise as they get their second. Gambit have a silver lining.
He got so much money there for Gambit, so yeah, you're not going to win the 1v2. Might as well look for exit damage. While the AWP doesn't find the connection, the bomb blast does. Enterprise finding their second, and 4Z, that was him probably getting caught off guard. Has to quick switch in towards that short position. Shiro gets a lot of impact with the AWP. Unfortunately, the anchor player's down on the site. Axel wasn't able to find anything. Nafani on rotation didn't find anything. So it was really just Shiro baiting, or not baiting his teammates, but getting trades off of them falling. Other than that, the anchor players didn't find much.
Shiro spotting another player out here in the interim of this first round. Axel swings on short, and this wombo combo from Connector and short have been so wonderfully played here by the CT side. Hobbit even gets involved to the A side. Shiro found his kill. He's double up, in fact, against Matties, and they are just dismantling Enterprise, picking them apart, limb bum limb. The 10th to the board. Every time you see Enterprise get a slight positive, it's just wrapped right away from them, snatched away from them. Taken back by Gambit's 10th round.
25 seconds from leaving spawn to a 1v5. How quickly that round falls apart from Enterprise. And it starts off by the mid players. Axel swinging out wide and short, Shiro backing him up, Hobbit being the A player, and Mangus, what do you say? How is the whole team just falling apart so quickly? Nafani over-aggressing, not a single point of damage, or 3 points. That's all that gets done in that whole round.
Might as well be no points of damage, honestly. Like, it's so little impact. They don't even need to rebuy armor or helmets for that. Like, they've just got so much cash in bank that even if they did have to, it wouldn't even matter that much.
Just the kill numbers too, Jay.
Yeah.
We could say the kill distribution is decent. At the same time, though, it's not decent because, well, they're not finding impact. They're just all low.
Like I was mentioning earlier about the impact numbers for the, or the impactful frags for the Enterprise side and how the numbers might be low, but they were finding the impact itself. With the scoreline being where it is, I don't know how much you can apply that anymore. And look at Nafani straight out towards mid. Finds 2 players, takes down 1, damage to the second shot, finishes him off, catches Mangus to the end. The smoke! Oh, the shots from this guy! Kassad called him a superstar. He most certainly is. Axel closes it down. Bashir with another AWP sequence, extending himself to 19 frags, and he deserves that.
Pretty sure Alien's looking at this game and saying, oh boy, it's been a competition here.
Grand
AWP, oh.
Not saying anything, just, you know, just throwing that one out there.
Yeah, floating it through,
They
keep it
are
on your minds.
Opposite sides of the bracket, so. I'm just saying, boys. Just saying.
That was a great sequence coming out from Shiro, just looking so comfortable.
Comfortable in the scoreline for Gambit, comfortable in this map up. We had hopes that Enterprise might try and replicate Dust 2. That's not happened at all here. At this point, you just start hoping that their CT side is just as good as Gambit's was.
Even that, it's missed util. We see the Molly that's trying to go into the window room position just not connecting at all. Shiro aggressing forward. Look at the map presence.
All the way up towards top mid, hoping for T-side players to peek in. They're going to wrap out of apartments and go towards spawn, however. It's not much information gained by the CT forces. Smokes. Interaction with flashes here for the CT side. They will just bait them out. Stall for time. Stall the execution for now.
Go back to basics. Set piece. I like it here for Enterprise. Just go back to what you know is going to try and work for some entry kills. Try and see if they get that molly towards underback. Force Hobbit out into the open.
3 smokes set in for this particular set piece. Oh, Shiro still blind by flash and smoke. Catches Matties regardless. And nades on Eli. Tag him down low as well. Nafani and Hobbit looking for their angles. Adiz's blind spraying onto Dark. Eli will catch Hobbit back a firebox. And the jump face for Shiro is still looking for when the T-side start peeking. Nafani is waiting behind danger. 1 player missed his jump and falls back towards Sandwich. The AWP not required. Nafani gets his 1 frag at his second. Shiro doubles up as well. And despite the pressure being put on there by Enterprise, Gambit hold discipline and hold on.
What are they mollying there? 2 nades go through of the mollies that try to go to triple. They don't go to triple at all. Nafani's just there. He's standing. Both mollies not connecting at all. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Shiro's able to get to the top of stairs, get a pop shot through, and you lose that first pick. The util has just been completely off kilter. You can't afford that at this sort of level. If you're going up a team like Gambit, you have to make sure your util's on point. Otherwise, you're just going to get rolled over.
I'll add more to that on the set piece towards A. The smokes and utility placements that pretty much everybody knows. Enterprise. You mentioned they go back to basics, but even the basics aren't working out for them anymore. What a shot from Shiro, man. Unreal stuff from their part, and it felt like maybe with that kill against Hobbit, things might have started turning up for the T side. Just no. Absolutely no. 10 rounds of the difference. Last of the half. Gambit looking fantastic. Enterprise trying to set up a run boost to try bait in, but Shiro's got the AWP set, so his flick's probably going to be nutty onto the man anyway.
Yeah, they could try and flash him off angle. They've only got 1 more flash, so even the util from that, and they've got a top mid smoke. They didn't use it. They're going to try and double pump. They've just got no util. This is already a round that just looks so dire for Enterprise to just find anything.
Yeah, forcing back into round 15 and have the issues with the lack of utility in the previous few rounds. 2 HEs, 2 smokes and a flash. I think, honestly, another set piece might be the best call for them here, even if the utility was not placed correctly on the Molotovs. Put 1 down towards mid, instead try hunt for the mid control, and the Orpashiro says no. Goodbye, Matisse. Varney sees a couple more players. Bashiro peeks in for his second pick as his teammate gets bailed out. Nade on towards underpass, perfectly placed. Mangus down to 66. And it's in the area to drive him even further away.
And you're fighting mid with no util. You know it's going to be tough. You know you have to get some immediate trades. Even out the window, Nafani trying to see if he can line them up. Knows exactly where they are. There is a couple of picks back at least for the T side.
Okay, Tachiro and Nafani falling. The 2 players playing mid so far in this matchup. Mangus has found a wraparound as well into position. CT catches Axel down to 2 points of health though. The bomb's on its way in from apartments though, and Inter's ready with the M4. Forz has got his knife pulled out, switching to the AK, but not ready for him to be so posted up. Mangus does burst fire into a triple frag, but he's a 1 versus 1 scenario in 13 seconds to go back for it. Nades that are ready for Inters. He's got the bomb in his control. There's no way left for him.
No, not at all. Just play time. Doesn't even need to take the fight. He can put that HE forward, see if that finds a connection. Not going to happen. Mangus tries to spray, hoping that he's somewhere around that position. It's not going to happen at all. 13-2. Gambit. Shiro dropped 23 kills and 5 deaths in that. You're facing off against a top side. It's unfortunate. You have to dig deep and just try and play out this map.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's highly, highly unfortunate, unfortunately.
I guess it would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's a shame too, because for Enterprise, they're a solid team, and they've definitely caught my eye this event. They've played some good CS. They've beaten some very good teams, and even on the first map, tactically, they were up there.
Well, look, without stretching positives, I think that everyone coming into this tournament would have had Enterprise to go out in the play-in stage. So the fact that they even got to the top 6, I think that's worthy of applause, honestly. Like, and they got a rough draw as well. Like, drawing against Gambit, top 3 team in the world, went top 4 in the major. Like, even in spite of the context around that, which a lot of people argue that Gambit didn't do well in the major somehow, this is still a tough matchup for Enterprise to win, and for them to bow out in top 6 in the first place, they can hold their heads up high. Pistol round, 13-2. Looking for one final survival from the CT forces, and Eli's can get a couple of kills. Ton taking his silencer off of the USP, but still turns up a triple somehow. Shiro struggles to get the quadrant to 9. 40 rubs in. What's going on? Enterprise hard stack mid. And enters in a 1v3.
They've won a pistol! There we go! 1 for 6 in pistols. Finally a pistol round going the way of Enterprise. And it's a start to the second half. What a sequence that was for the Eli. I don't know how he stayed alive for so long and continued to do damage.
That was just a silly pistol. Like, it was so silly. Dear, but you are right. Enterprise, their first pistol round in this series. And it gives them a little bit of a buffer. A little bit of survival now. 10 rounds to the difference. Gambit going to go hard eco in this round as well. No, not actually as hard eco. A couple of deagles coming in. Buying down to about $1,000 for a couple of players. Still should get the rifles out for the next one, but it's just clean up time anyway for the CT forces. There's no Kevlar, there's no protection, there's no chance.
No, not at all. A simple round in for Enterprise. Try and see if they can get some sort of positivity, some confidence back into their CT side. If they can farm up any money too from Mangus and Addies, that would be a bonus too.
There's Mangus, the SMG frag, 2 kills to his name already. Bomb dropped, looking for the triple. Addies knows what Axile is, and Matt's going to take the frag instead. Bit unfortunate there, but alas, here we stand. All to the board of Enterprise, and again, Gambit was a hard eco, so they come back in with the guns. They did buy down a couple of players, though, again, down to about $1,000 on 2 individuals, those individuals being Shiro and Nafani. So there's Galils out there, they don't get the full gambit of AKs.
It doesn't make a difference, though, because going for the Galils means you're going to get more util out anyway. So knowing that that comes in, if they were going to go AKs, it would have been so light on the utility. So at least this way, they're able to get some more out of this round.
Smokes on CT players facing. Nafani looking up. Molotovs held back. Smoke on. Nades up to the top of stack. And there's some Eli as well towards top of mid on that entrance position. Does not see the T-side contact. He just holds his position, holds the line for now. And he goes passive across the entire board.
Yeah, Enterprise, an opening man advantage is going to be needed in a round like this. They've got an aggressive approach from Mangus, just jiggle peeking as this smoke starts to dissipate out from ramp. Hobbitt's on the right-hand side, hugging the wall.
AK leaning in, spots one, takes the headshot. Perfect. Opening start. Molotov's coming in, Eli looks up, Barney catches the man off, and it's a 5 versus 3 now for them. Smoke's in position, Nafani's going to switch out to a regular M4. Matties will find Axar. Falsey turns around against Nafani as well, so they clear out the mid presence, but they haven't got the ace sight.
Yeah, Hobbitt's so aggressive, just pushing up towards his top cold position, playing in from stairs. Get that bomb down. They've still got a couple of flashes to use on the post plant.
It's ahead of the dustbin as well towards CT, so generally they're just going to cut off these rotation positions and these entryways for Enterprise. One man on the backstab, not being watched here. I think, actually, Falsey might be the linchpin element, but at 7 points of HP, he can't afford to make a single mistake. Flashes do go over. Shiro waits, enters, baits them back into the site, takes a lot of damage for it. Shiro's got to get these kills on the Galil, though. And he does find it easy at least. One player swings out, and Matty's traded immediately, and Falsey swaps the fray. Gets into a 1v1 at least, and the Hobbit's just waiting. One tap's all he gets, and that's all he requires. 14-4. 2 rounds to go.
Well handled in that 3v3 post plant. Inters gets a couple of flashes up high. They know that Hobbit's sort of playing around that top con jungle position. He hasn't seen anything, so Inters knows he can fall back to triple and he'll be okay, because no one's coming through from that rotation. Couple of players out from CT. You see the way that Shiro peeks up from that default position. He finds impact. What an opening kill that was from Hobbit. As well, Nafani being able to open up some space out to Connector. Couple of picks come back in pretty nicely for Enterprise. They don't get that round together. Even that backstab, not really that effective.
14-4. Nafani with the opening frag already, catching Matties off out of the track position. There's damage being done to Axon and Nafani, so there is trade potential available for Enterprise. But they're playing passive. They're not going to offer it up in the early round.
Gambit starting to work with this default. Yeah, you do have a couple of players down low. The Elive just trying to see if he can perhaps make a play. Adi so aggressive out from the apartments. Does find that first. Doesn't quite get traded immediately.
Escapes dodge for now. Spray through from Shiro. Gets forcing next. So 4 versus 3. Gambit maintain the advantage, but not for long. Mangus with a responsive. Now he's finding his impact. Now he's starting to get going in this one. Has it been a bit too late? Eli can get caught up from underpass. How does he adjust towards that? Nafani takes him back down to a 2 versus 2. And just about barely keeps control for Gambit.
And they're starting to toy with the rotations now. Hobbit's going to be able to create some space up on A, can bring that bomb back in from T-Spawn. We're seeing the nades go down over to that B side, and Hobbit can call it back over, bring that bomb A.
M4 leaning up. Wraparounds and the information to be gained. Rotations back from Adiz. The bomb will commit to the A site. He's coming in from Market as well, so there's no potential denial if they play it towards shore. Lots of keeping him away from jungles. The default plant instead.
Now, they have no idea that Hobbit's aggressed this far forward out to the CT spawn area. For Nafani, he's just got to try and stay alive, even with him being on low HP.
Oh, his back's turned to Mangus, though. He's going to hide in Sandwich. That's smart. No idea about the backstab. He will be very aware of it when he peeks ahead. Back in the corner. Looking up towards Palace. Does he think that Nafani might be out here towards Sandwich? Adiz's going to have to check it. Back turn, kill, found. Mangus turns around, a 1 versus 1. Nafani going to hide, and Mangus wins out that fight. Keeps Enterprise alive once again. A 5th round to the CT board.
Beautiful clutch coming through from Mangus and finally getting rewarded with something, getting that defuse forward, allowing that 5th round up, and knowing that he dealt with the high HP player of Hobbit towards CT really opens up the potential of that 1v1. Being able to force that swing out from Sandwich and deal with Nafani. It felt as if Gambit was starting to really over-rotate them and put them in a good position. They don't win the 2v2 post-plant.
Again, Enterprise can stay alive for a little bit longer. Sounds contested for the time being. Still yet to concede. Match point to Gambit. Quarterfinal point to Gambit as well. They've got a hero AK set up into this eco, so it looks like they might not concede it yet. A little bit more time for Enterprise to play this one out. They're starting to get the groundwork laid for a comeback. But when the guns come out is when Gambit can shut this whole thing down.
Now, the Elive has been caught off a couple of times out for Connector. Nafani with the deal. The Glock thought as if it was going to be able to get that first engagement. It is at least the AK quickly on the trade.
Yeah, forcibly bailing Nafani out there. Really had to be required. 4-on-4 situation. Axel with that 1 frag out to Connector will fall away. Try to join his teammates. Set piece potential is relatively light for them. They had that 1 smoke. Probably just smoke Connector jungle, go for it. 1 man on the site though. That's going to be Mangus. They've got to deal with him.
I like the way that Enterprise are playing this quite passively, rather than aggressing forward and trying to have some info plays. They just play the numbers game, know that they've got the weaponry advantage. This hero AK from Axel could still do a lot of damage though.
Might have to be the man to get the entries. Oh, Mangus with the 1 tap. Straight to Int's head. Matties finds Shiro out to Palace. Axel still standing with the AK, and Mangus gets his head. All the same deal. Hobbit taps a couple of tags, but doesn't get the kill. It's a triple for Mangus instead. And Enterprise hold their 6th. Gambit, however, they have money. They will buy.
At this point, you're pretty much just stretching out how far this game can go. To think a realistic comeback from 6-14 down isn't something we can entertain right now. So just try and keep this game going. See if you can get under the skin of Gambit. A couple of rounds in a row being won out by Enterprise. And now this is really where pressure's going to be coming through. The Krieg out from Shiro, AKs across the board. There is a Galil out for Nafani to get that extra bit of util.
3 set for him. Inter's using all of his utility very early into the round. Limits across pretty much every player here for Gambit, but they should be okay on that department. It's like gapping that smoke for Eli to look into the connector position. Doesn't see anything early on in this round. It's slow. Very slow from Gambit's default. They're working it on the pass.
Yeah, Forzy's aggressive, really pressed up on the short position, deals with that first player. Getting back to safety is going to be tough.
Sure doesn't peek towards it. Eli catches Hobbit, meanwhile downstairs. And the Krieg just doesn't see where they're coming in from. They've rotated away. A 5v3. Enterprise can have to sit pretty and wait for the hit because they've got the advantage. Axel finds a responsive. Eli doesn't catch him. 4 HP. He's still in play.
Yeah, Axel's going to be able to give that information over. Smoke down, and Shiro wins the fight for Eli now.
Axel behind the smoke in the murder hole will get on top of the boost. Will the CTs offer themselves up to him, or will he have to extend onto the site with his back turned towards Matty? He'll rotate back towards that B site looking for Market. Second player also on the way. Enters. No idea about Mangus's position. Flashed into the site. Mangus over at ramp. Might have his back turned towards Shiro. And he still wins the fight. Still drops that bomb. He finds all the impactful frags, but Axel turns back into a 2v2.
Mangus down to 71. Needs to be able to connect onto another fight. Flash goes in. Out to that ramp position. Inter still looking out towards CT. They know where the SMG is. And Agis wins it out. It all comes down to Inters now to see if he can isolate the Jules. He at least gets the first.
20 seconds. He's got to go towards the A site. And the G's missed. It's completely adjusted, but doesn't get the pick for it. The AK gets a 2K and finally gets match point for Gambit. 9 of them to get past the finish line. Enterprise don't have a great buy either. They'll force it because they have to, but an AWP is their best weapon. Several players can't even afford rifles.
That's just heartbreaking. Adij was playing, what, CT? Behind triple. He relocates as that distraction gets pulled. It feels as if he's got the edge. He's got the jump onto that last individual of Inters, and it just doesn't happen. Doesn't come through. What a round in from Gambit. What a recovery.
Taps on the Eagles, smokes up the position. Broken by for Enterprise. Desperate to find something in that mid control, but they're not going to get offered to it. Matties does find Axel in apartments. That's a bit of a start. Not where the default lines up towards. Again, more players are on the A side.
Now Hobbit putting some nades down to allow that lurk to come out from the palace position. Shiro still maintaining the mid control. Gambit looking to see if they can force their way back into a 4v4 situation. Mattis is still aggressive with that AWP.
The MAC-10 might offer himself up to a player. Falls away. Looks for the crack angle instead. He flashes for the T side. The order's going to go together. Mattis waiting for the peak. Spots them. Connects Nafani. Second frag to his name. Makes it a triple on for the Quadra. Doesn't quite connect it. So Shiro and Hobbit can trade. The 3-on-2 still favors Enterprise, but they brought their way back into the round. The bomb gets picked up and they hard rotate back into the A site. Hobbit's already in con.
He's down low. That's the problem. Might be able to create space onto the A site. Needs to win this fight onto the...
What?
There it is! The Galil wins the fight onto the Scout!
Jump faced, gave it up. Hobbit with the easiest spray. Forcey with the all up close. He does land on Hobbit, but Shiro with a responsive. A 1 versus 1. Last chance saloon for Adiz. Making his way in from jungle. Shiro escapes his eye just in time. Turns his attention towards that stairs position, but repositions towards CT on the defensive. Adiz giving up no info. Back to turn. Stick the defuse. 10 seconds to it. Shiro knows where he is. He's going to peek slowly. He's got this. AK needs the headshot. Tap straight to the head for a 16-6. And Gambit will find themselves in the semi-finals of V4. An effort and a half for Enterprise. An impressive map number 1. But even so, they drop out in the top 6. And again, wait, they can be bowing out with their heads held high. They can be proud of what they've done so far.
And they've made a name for themselves, without a doubt. And this is what's always really nice about these sort of events, is we get a couple of these teams that show us the goods, what they can actually do in the higher echelons, and what they could do on LAN. And for Enterprise, they really impressed me this event. They got some fantastic victories. The way they even took the first map in the series, and the way that they played.
100%. I don't even think Gambit were expecting to be tested in the same sort of way that they were over on that first one. But coming into Inferno, they really started to dominate, and Muse Boys look like the team that could still win this LAN again. I have some reservations about their starts, though, because in every series they played so far, they've been slow to start. They've oftentimes gone down to overtime or lost that opening map, including the best of 1, for example. In this map, in this series, it's the exact same thing as well. So I feel like that Big might have a few positives that they can take into the next match in the semi-finals.
It definitely hasn't been a clean event from Gambit so far, at least. This is still a matchup where a win's a win. It's a single elim playoff bracket. You don't want to be dropping out very early on. They've moved forward to the next stage of those semi-finals. They do need to pick their act up, though, if they do want to go deep and win this whole thing.
Absolutely, 100%. Gambit are still favored favorites in this bracket, but that could still be tested because they've got some titans in the next round. You could argue there's a world in which we would see a Big versus Gambit grand finals, so having that matchup in the semis, it really could swing either way for me.
Yeah, it comes down again to who's delivering with the early starts, who's delivering on the day, and you'd have to imagine for Big, now looking back at what they've seen in this best of 3 series, they've got the day off today, they've got that time to prepare, look at some of the intricacies of what happened in map 2 and map 3, and see what they can bring into their game plan.
Absolutely, 100%. They do look like a team on the victory side, though, so for Gambit, they do survive against Enterprise. Move forward to the top 4 is back-to-backs and the boys to break down Mirage.
Well, we get to see Gambit do what they were supposed to do. Maybe not across 3 maps, but it was dominant scorelines on the other 2, you know, win out your opponents, come onto the decider, solid stuff from start to finish. I will throw this little hypothesis out there though, boys. This is all just one big game plan. Because they're going to come after your boys, Drowlon, yeah? And they've basically...
we've heard this one before.
they've duped it, you know, and they've been like, we can't play Dust 2. So Big are like, yeah, 100% pick into it. And then you guys are just going to get smashed tomorrow 16-0. Then they win the map pick 2-0 and Big are out, clearly. Gambit just mind gaming you.
Here's a secret though. We'll ban Dust 2. First thing.
Oh, there we go.
Obviously. It's all part of the FNS master plan, you know, it's just like, this is like the end game of it, you know, just like banning Dust 2.
It's mind games all over the place, you know.
There you go.
But let's get back to the reality of the things, right?
Kassan's put us back on track, Jesus Christ.
It's gone too far at this point. The thing is, like, with this last map, obviously you see a strong performance by Gambit, especially by Shiro. This is what happens, like, once in a time you have these star players, they start feeling the map, right? They feel the game. At this point, you just let him make the calls for himself. You don't need to do literally anything. As an IGL or a coach, just let him call his own plays. That's how he went. To be fair, on the other side, T side, it's like they tried a bunch of things on T side. Connector splits, A pops, B pops, everything. It's just what killed them the most was those multi-kills all the time. You know, is it Exile, is it Shiro, is it Nefani? Whoever was there got the multi-kill, and that's something that kills your round completely, right? So it's props to them for getting into the 3rd map, and you know, it's a team that got some potential, I guess.
Yeah, especially from Shiro, I think. Like, he was a force of nature on the CT side, just locking down mid and both the A side, you know. And I think you can even see that some rounds they tried to take the fight to him, you know, smoking off window, boosting window, trying to kill him, but he was ready for that, right? Like, there was like no catching him off guard.
He was a very fluent game from Shiro, right? He was just playing short, playing con, playing ticket, rotating all over the place. It's just very annoying on the T side. I felt it before from different kind of ops, right? Whatever you do on T side, if the op is annoying as Shiro was today, there's not much you can do, right? It's just a very, very, very good game from Shiro at the end.
Now we have our semi-final first game set, though. It's going to be big going up against Gambit. Gambit secured their place through. That's like getting a grand final, though, already, right? We're getting like a little treat in the semis very early on here.
Yeah, Gambit, obviously, I guess the favorite team just going into this, you know, they're the ones like most people expected to win this, and then joining them in the grand final, you know, either an Anthropic or a Big, you know, that's the prediction. Movie stars, potentially a dark horse, you know, also someone maybe from the play-ins could have made it, but that's basically what we're looking for, yeah. So we are going to get a bit of a treat tomorrow. I think this will go the distance.
The thing with Gambit that worried me a little bit, aside from Dust 2, is like the body language and the vibe around them was not the one from the first day. Yeah. You can see Hobbit a little bit like some unease, you know, like something was bothering him.
Tired.
Even after the game, they didn't look so, you know, hyped and pumped. You know, when you win a game like this as a favorite, right, you need to look at it. There is only one way you look at it. Like, it's not the best CS, but it was better than what they had. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. There will be time to analyze and talk and, you know, fix the mistakes from Dust or any other map they played, you know. But today we got the win and we got the semis. We're gonna play big, you know. We're still the favorites, no matter what. You know, we're just gonna play our game. We did, again, not the best, yes. It was better than what they had, and that should be enough.
Maybe they're actually going, you mentioned it, right, a little bit of tiredness, the Hobbit thing that he said to us, but maybe they're just trying to give him a bit of endurance testing, give him the extra map in there as well, you know, make sure he's ready for it.
Increasing your stamina going in. Yeah,
it's been a long year, they've won loads.
Obviously, it's tiring, right? But it's an investment. The way I look at it, it's an investment. We said at the beginning, these players, they need LAN experience.
100%.
This is the investment for the next year when they come into, like, when the big LANs go back to LAN, actually, right? And big events go back to LAN, sorry. And this is gonna mean a lot down the road for the players like Shiro, Exile, all this.
Definitely.
Like, maybe not Hobbit because he was there before, but all the others, Nefani, especially as an IGL, it's a different like calling in the middle of the arena before in front of like 10,000 people, and then just online, right? It's a different vibe. It's gonna mean a lot down the road for them. Right now, they just need to ride it out, right?
But we should touch on Enterprise because obviously they are eliminated now. It's a single elimination here, but they made it to the quarterfinals. They certainly showed that they can play some Counter-Strike. You think they got a bright future ahead of them?
Yeah, I always tell this to teams, who are knocked out of V4 after a while, especially these underdog teams. It's like, you had a great showing here, but like don't let this result, deter you from continuing, because the road's just getting started for you. You're at the start of your journey. Just stick together and make it work. Obviously Gambit, a perfect like ideal of a team which like really grinded it out from that, basically nothing. Obviously Hobbit came in bringing that experience, right? So he was like also a catalyst there. But for these teams, this is something which you can look at and maybe I can be there one day. So just stick together and make it work.
You can't though, Jarman. You have to stay where you are.
We just contracted by big.
I just have to slay from now on.
The thing is with Enterprise, right? They have something to work with. That's definitely that we saw, right? I don't know what's gonna be next for them, on in terms of like events or any kind of potential change or whatever that happens, right? They did good work here. They have a base to work on, right? You told us that they brought a new coach. He couldn't be here. That's maybe something that will change in the future. So just keep up what you were doing so far and you will get better and better. Like I said, this experience from this event will mean a lot, playing against Gambit and Tropic, all these major teams, right? Coming out of the group of the first stage, playing the second stage, getting the top 6. It's a big thing for the team that was supposed to be dead last.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts on this. It's time for us to kick it to a break. But when we come back, we're moving into our second best of 3 and our last series of the day. It's going to be Fiend taking on Movistar Riders. So stick with us. We'll be back in a few.